The woman I was supposed to conquer the world of science with, my partner and everything, broke up with me out of the blue. The very next day, she was with some tech bro trust fund kid. She wasn't subtle about it, either plastering their perfect life all over her Instagram while throwing shade at everything we'd ever worked for. Ethan, she'd written in one caption, a casual dagger. No matter how many hours you spend in the lab, it won't change the fact that you're broke. Then, years later, when I was no longer broke, when I'd become one of the most sought-after minds in biotech, I heard a rumor. The trust fund kid had used her up and spit her out. She was struggling. Badly. That night, I left an awards dinner early, got in my car, and drove to her old neighborhood. I pulled up across the street and stared at the familiar, slightly dilapidated 6-story brick apartment building. A light was on in her third-floor window. It meant Chloe was home. Or maybe they were both in there. Chloe had lived in that building her whole life. I knew that. I'd been inside that apartment 100 times. After the breakup, I couldn't even drive past the block without a detour. But you can't hide your heart from your own eyes. I'd always find myself glancing in this direction, torn between the hope and the terror of seeing the one person I knew better than myself. Bro, you sure about this? Leo, my junior researcher and de facto little brother, leaned against the passenger window, his breath fogging the glass. She made her choice. Ditched a Nobel-worthy future to marry some rich prick. Why are you even here? Her life is her life, man. It's got nothing to do with us anymore. I kept my eyes fixed on the third-floor window. You're not wrong. But our big breakthrough. That project wouldn't have happened without Chloe. The patent made us $5 million, I said, more to myself than to him. She walked away before the payday and never took a dime. Now she's hit hard times. We can't just let that stand. We owe her. Leo rolled his eyes. You're just a big softy, Ethan. You're not over her, are you? Get out of here, I grumbled, but without any real heat. It's not about that. Everyone gets to choose their own path. I opened the car door. Wait here. I'll be right back. Leo scrambled out of the car. No way, man. Your hands and brain are practically a national asset. What if that jerk is up there and tries something? I'm your bodyguard. I laughed and smacked him lightly on the back of the head. You couldn't win a fight with a kitten. I'd end up having to save you. I walked into the building with a confident stride, but as soon as I was out of Leo's line of sight, my steps slowed. Each one felt like it was cast in lead. Why was I so nervous? She was the one who dumped me. It sounds like a cliche, but Chloe and I met online. I can't even remember the platform anymore. Some niche subreddit for biochemists, I think. We'd friend each other, but never really talked. Then one night, after a catastrophic experiment failure, I was stewing in my misery and needed to vent to a stranger. I clicked on her profile at random, and that's when the magic happened. She was in the same field. We clicked instantly. When I told her about my failed project, she started rattling off 3 different viable solutions off the top of her head. We ended up on a call, and with her brilliant input, we managed to completely and utterly wreck my experiment even further. Chloe was mortified. The next day, she showed up at my lab, in person, determined to fix it herself. Can you believe that? Our first time meeting in the flesh, and we went straight to the lab. She barely even looked at me, just grabbed a beaker and got to work. That left me free to just stare. I was completely captivated by her disarmingly youthful face. Chloe wasn't tall, maybe 5'3", and she was dressed in sweats and a hoodie, like a girl cramming for finals. But her features were what got me. She looked so young, so utterly innocent. I couldn't believe she was a 20-year-old Ph.D. candidate. She looked like she was still waiting for her growth spurt. She didn't notice me watching. She was lost in the work. I remember she failed 6 times. Each time, a little puff of black smoke would erupt, leaving soot on her cheeks like a cartoon character. But on the 7th try, she nailed it. She threw her hands up in the air with a triumphant yes. When she turned around, her eyes met mine for the first time. Her smile faltered, her cheeks flushing a deep red as she realized her outburst. Even now, I can picture her face in that moment, and I can't help but smile. I drifted up the 3 flights of stairs, lost in the memory. I found myself at her door before I knew it. I took a deep breath, steeling myself. Don't get emotional. You're here to repay a debt for that breakthrough 2 years ago. Nothing more. Knock, knock, knock. I tapped lightly on the door. It swung open to reveal a girl with a toothbrush sticking out of her mouth and a chaotic mop of unbrushed hair. Chloe. Slam. The door slammed shut in my face, barely missing my nose. Chloe, it's me. You don't recognize me? Her muffled voice came from behind the door. I recognize you. Ethan, just give me a minute. I was in the middle of an experiment. Maybe come back tomorrow. It's fine. I can wait. I only found out later what come back tomorrow really meant. I stood in that hallway for a solid hour. Leo came running up the stairs twice, convinced something had happened to me. The smirk on his face when he saw I hadn't even made it inside was infuriating. Finally, the door opened again. Chloe stood there, transformed. Hair brushed, face clean, looking sharp and alert. She was still makeup-free. She never wore it. Well, look what the wind blew in. The great scientist himself. Get in here. She ushered me inside, a bright, welcoming smile plastered on her face. For some reason, a stupid, paranoid thought slipped out. Is anyone else coming over? Huh? She looked at me with a wide-eyed, innocent confusion. I just smiled and shook my head. I'd been half expecting some hulking dude bro to walk out of the bedroom. I glanced around the apartment. It was the same as I remembered, impeccably tidy. The wall was lined with custom-built shelves she'd made herself, each cubby filled with beakers, flasks, and chemical vials. Still running experiments? Yeah, just to keep my mind busy. But I mostly just fail, she said with a self-deprecating laugh. Nothing like you, mister. Big shot scientist. Chloe was every bit as brilliant as I was. If I'm being honest, she was sharper. The key insight for our big patent, that was all her, which is why I could never figure it out. We were on the verge of a massive success, and she just left. For a rich guy, she flaunted on Instagram. I was obsessed with knowing who he was back then, but she never posted a single picture of his face. Just captions praising him and trashing our old life. That line about how my work would never change the fact that I was a broke loser. Sigh. It didn't even make me that angry at the time. I mean, she wasn't wrong. I was broke. Here, water. She handed me a glass of room-temperature water. I took it and asked, so where's your husband? Not here. Chloe's mouth opened, then closed. She thought for a second before forcing a smile. He's busy, always running around. It gets lonely by myself, so I came back here to stay for a bit. She changed the subject. Enough about me. How are you? Are you okay? Her eyes were sparkling. It was the same light I remembered from years ago. A light that was focused entirely on me. I instinctively looked away. She's a married woman, I reminded myself. Keep it professional. I'm great. I just came by to see you. I heard a rumor that your marriage wasn't going so well. That's ridiculous, she said, a little too quickly. It's great. She fidgeted. So, was anything else? If not, I won't keep you. I was still holding my glass, just starting to gather my thoughts, and she was already showing me the door. I let out a bitter laugh. You really don't want to see me, do you? No. It's great to see an old friend, really. It's just my husband, right? I'd hate for him to see you here. She was smiling that goofy smile of hers. But this time, I could see the glint of tears welling in her eyes. I stared up at the ceiling, my mind reeling, flooded with memories. A sudden pang hit my chest. The only thing Chloe ever did to wrong me was. No, you can't even say she wronged me. We promised to make our mark on the world of science together, but we never officially put a label on it. Even though, in my heart, she was my girlfriend. When she cut things off so abruptly, it hurt like hell. But besides that, all our memories were golden. We'd pull all-nighters in the lab, playing video games until a sudden spark of inspiration would hit, and we'd drop our controllers to solve the problem in front of us. We were always broke back then. Research supplies aren't cheap. We took on part-time jobs at a local restaurant, her as a waitress, me as a busboy. We'd make googly eyes at each other while delivering plates, driving the manager insane. He accused us of having an office romance. We were young and fiery, and it was just a side hustle. Who cared? I remember snapping back at him. Office romance? This is a TGI Fridays, not Goldman Sachs. We're slinging mozzarella sticks here, man. We're all just cogs in the machine. We were both fired on the spot. They even tried to withhold our last paycheck. I was furious, ready to key the manager's car. But Chloe, with that mischievous glint in her eye, just grabbed my hand and we ran. She was laughing the whole way, telling me she'd figured out how to fund our experiment. I had no idea what she meant. Turns out, she marched straight to the Department of Labor and filed a wage claim. We ended up getting a settlement that was way more than our measly paychecks. That night, we celebrated. We splurged on a massive pizza and ate the whole thing. She was so happy. Watching her, with her bright, innocent face, I must have almost told her I loved her a dozen times that night. But I was young and awkward, and the words never came out. I regret it so much now. If I had just said it, if we had moved in together sooner, maybe if there had been an accident, would she still have left? Chloe, I started, my voice wavering as I looked at her. She blinked hard, forcing the tears back. Yeah? What is it? I just wanted to say, I hope you're happy. Truly. Oh, don't worry about me, she said with a forced cheerfulness. You know me, I'm tough. I'll be fine no matter what. You should take care of yourself, too. Get out of the lab once in a while. I nodded. I pulled out my phone and zelled her a chunk of money. Yes, we still had each other's numbers. We just never had the courage to use them. Stalking her profile was the only comfort I allowed myself. Too bad, she only posted once every 6 months. Take this, I said. If that rich guy isn't treating you right, you should just divorce him, she finished, covering her mouth with a laugh. But I was dead serious, and my expression made her smile fade. She gave a slight, almost imperceptible nod. You don't have to worry about me, she insisted. Who's going to mess with a mad scientist? I could poison him in his sleep and make it look like an accident. I put my water glass down and stood up to leave, but the same loose floorboard by the door was still there. I tripped, stumbling forward, about to go down hard. Chloe lunged and caught me. You know that board has been loose for years. How are you still so clumsy? I laughed, leaning on her for support. It's been a while, My smile froze. My hand, which was gripping her arm to steady myself, felt something through her sleeve. A ridge. A scar. I quickly, almost unconsciously, ran my fingers over it again. Chloe pulled her arm away instantly. Hey, what are you doing, getting handsy on me? She scolded, trying to make a joke of it. I pointed at her arm. Where did you get that scar? What scar? I lunged forward and roughly pushed up her sleeve. There it was. A long, ugly scar slashed across her forearm. It looked like it was from a knife. How did this happen? I demanded. Chloe fumbled to pull her sleeve down, her head bowed in shame. It was just an accident in the lab. A piece of equipment shattered. You know how it is, it happened to us all the time back in the day. It just cut me. You're lying to me. I stared into her eyes, willing her to tell me the truth. Her brow furrowed. I told you what happened. If you don't want to believe me, fine. Look, you should just go. She started pushing me toward the door. I planted my feet, using my strength to hold the door open. If he's treating you this badly, why can't you just divorce him? How can you live like this? It's not what you think, isn't it? I saw the scar. I can't explain it to you. You don't have to. I blurted out, the words tumbling out before I could stop them. Divorce him. I'll marry you. I never thought I'd say it. Especially not like this. Maybe it was just a crazy, impulsive thought. Was I trying to break up a marriage? I didn't know, but I didn't regret it. Chloe had never hurt me. She had only ever helped me. If she were happy, I would have left her alone. But seeing her like this, how could I not want to take her back? Her eyes still held that same light when she looked at me. I didn't care why she left. I didn't care about the saccharine captions on her Instagram. Maybe it was all a lie, a way to push me away. Maybe her life had been a nightmare all along. Hearing my ridiculous, out-of-the-blue proposal, Chloe's eyes went wide. What did you say? I said I'll marry you. If your life is hell, I'll marry you. I slammed. The door slammed in my face. Again. Almost broke my nose. Again. Her angry voice came through the wood. Go back to your lab, you freak. Her anger made me smile. No, more than that, it satisfied something deep inside me. She was still into me. Huh. I shook my head and went downstairs. Leo saw me coming back, a strange look on my face. He gulped. Bro, you were up there a long time. You didn't. Sleep with her, did you? I gave him another smack on the head. What is wrong with you? Am I that kind of guy? Ow. Hey, can you stop hitting me on the head? My mom says it makes you dumber. You're already at maximum density. You've been working with me for years and haven't learned a thing. Hey, it's not that I haven't learned anything, he protested with a grin. It's just that your genius shines so bright, it completely eclipses my humble little light bulb. He sobered up. So, heading home to get some rest? An image of the scar on Chloe's arm flashed in my mind. No, I said decisively. I want to see what this rich guy looks like. If I could, I wanted to teach him a lesson. But we waited all night, and not a soul came or went. The only thing we heard was the surprisingly loud sound of Chloe snoring from the 3rd floor. At first, we didn't believe it. But then, as the sun came up, we saw her stretch and pull open the curtains, a little trail of drool glistening on her chin. Leo and I looked at each other. Bro, he whispered. Beauty and the Beast. Of a snore. We never spent the night together, I muttered. How would I know? Leo just coughed awkwardly. Right. So, we waited all night, got nothing. Can we go home? I'm dead tired. A little longer. Still. Leo started to whine. I shot him a glare. I have someone coming to relieve us. We can go when they get here. Okay. Okay, he said, then rubbed his chin thoughtfully. But bro, why are you so obsessed with her husband? You casing the joint or something? Ow. Bro, stop hitting my head. I called a couple of friends to take over the stakeout, but they found nothing. The only development was Chloe leaving the apartment once to buy groceries. On the way home, she bought a candy apple and an ice cream cone. She never even took her phone out of her pocket. That night, Leo and I were back on duty. He was staring at the building when he suddenly asked, Bro, you ever think maybe they're already divorced? And she's just lying to you. The thought crossed my mind, I admitted, but I can't just ask her. She'd never tell me the truth. So if she won't talk, just make a move. Get her into bed. Once you've done the deed, she'll have to come clean. I raised my hand, and Leo flinched, covering his head. Just saying, based on my experience, it works every time. She's not like the girls you meet at bars, Leo. Fine, but we can't just sit here forever. We're getting nowhere. I shot him another look. If you don't want to be here, you can go home. No way. I gotta stick with you, bro. How else am I gonna make enough money to get married myself? Another all-nighter. Chloe's schedule was like clockwork. In bed by 8 p.m., up at tap, tap, tap. Someone was knocking on the car window. I blearily opened my eyes to see Chloe glaring in at me. I shot upright, a deeply embarrassed grin spreading across my face. I got out of the car. What are you doing out here? She demanded. I was just passing by. Passing by for 3 days? Every time I open my curtains, I see this car. Every single time. If you're going to stalk someone, Mr. Scientist, you could at least try to be subtle. Get a beat-up van or something. Did you really have to park a Bentley here? I coughed. Ahem. Are you sick? No. She grabbed my arm and started pulling me toward her building. Leo, rubbing the sleep from his eyes, watched from the driver's seat, a massive, stupid grin on his face. Back inside her apartment, Chloe immediately went to the kitchen to make me a bowl of hot ginger soup. While she was busy, I crept around the apartment, snooping. Not a single wedding photo. The bed was a twin. Only one pillow. Huh. A triumphant smile spread across my face. As I turned, I found Chloe standing there, holding a clay pot, watching me. I jumped. Do you ever make a sound when you walk? What were you looking for? She asked, an eyebrow raised. I just smiled. Anything interesting? I nodded slowly. I figured it out. You're divorced. Can't be divorced, she mumbled under her breath. If you were never married. What? I strode across the room and put my hands on her shoulders. What did you just say? I said I was never married. So how could I be divorced? Hearing those words, the dam of my restraint broke. I pulled her into a fierce hug. Hey, the soup. The soup. I'm still holding the soup. Crash. The clay pot hit the floor, and hot soup splashed all over my foot. Chloe immediately started panicking, rushing to get the first aid kit. She sat me down on a chair and began gently applying ointment to the burn. I just stared at her. She knew I was watching. A small smile played on her lips as she worked. What? Are you going to stare at me all day? Am I that pretty? You've always been beautiful, Chloe. Why? Why did you leave back then? My voice was soft. And the scar on your arm. How did you really get it? She pressed her lips together, her smile strained. Don't ask. It's all in the past. I just want to live a good life now, Embrace the future. I could tell she didn't want to talk about it. Something terrible must have happened. I wanted to know, but I couldn't bear to push her. I took a deep breath. Let's get married. You're crazy. No, I'm not. I'm serious. It's always been you. Chloe looked up, her big, watery eyes blinking slowly. After everything I did to you, I called you a broke loser. You're not holding that against me. I know you had your reasons. That Instagram account didn't have a single photo of him, did it? You made the whole rich boyfriend thing up, didn't you? She froze for a second, then pouted defiantly. Of course not. Do I? Do I look like the kind of person who would lie about something like that? You're a terrible liar, I said, a grin spreading across my face. You lied your way right into, my heart. Ugh, gross. She playfully pushed my foot away. That is the cheesiest line I've ever heard. It sounds so weird coming from a scientist. I stood up and hopped over to her on one foot. The line might be cheesy, but the feeling is real. So, will you consider it? A wicked smile touched her lips. Fine, I'll consider it. That was all I needed to hear. I whipped out my phone and called Leo. Go to my apartment and get my passport and birth certificate. Leo's voice crackled on the other end. What? My words seemed to shock Chloe, too. What do you need those for? To get a marriage license. Wait, we're getting a license? Now. Yes, now. Terrified she would change her mind, I fast-tracked the whole thing. At City Hall, the clerk at the Marriage License Bureau was laughing at us. She said we were clearly in a hurry, showing up with me, hopping on one foot from Freshburn. It was true. I was literally bouncing with impatience, and Chloe, half exasperated, half amused, was helping me keep my balance. If I don't lock this down now, I told the clerk she might get away. With the small, red-bordered certificate in my hand, I let out a whoop of laughter the second we stepped outside. Leo stood nearby, his face twitching with disbelief. Bro, you were something else. Take notes, I said, beaming. Let's go home. I took Chloe's hand, officially and legally. She squinted at me, and the more she looked, the more it seemed like she was getting angry. We went back to her place. I told Leo to head home, that I'd be staying the night. But before I could even step through the door, it slammed shut. Again, for the fourth time right in my face. Honey, what's wrong now? I called through the door. Chloe's grumpy voice came from inside. I just realized something. You tricked me. I just got married to you in a complete daze. You must have rotted your brain in that lab, because who proposes and gets married like that? I paused. She had a point. There wasn't even the slightest hint of ceremony. I heard Leo snickering behind me. Bro, just tell her you're a typical clueless guy. She'll believe it. I shot him a death glare, then pressed my face to the door. We could do the ceremony later. You kind of forgot about it too, right? Just open the door. Leo burst out laughing. Dude, there's no way she's opening the door after you said that. Creak. The door opened. Chloe stood there pouting. You promise? I promise. Cross my heart. We went inside and shut the door. Leo was left standing in the hallway, frozen. Wow, he muttered himself. A match made in clueless heaven. Perfect. That evening, Chloe made me a feast for dinner. One bite, and my face contorted into a Rubik's Cube of expressions. She watched me with wide, expectant eyes. So, is it good? I forced a swallow, glancing at her still slender frame. You really have a secret weapon for staying thin. The hopeful look on her face vanished, replaced by an eye roll. I'm good with beakers, but cooking feels like I'm diffusing a bomb. You know what? I'll just order you some takeout. Okay, order away, I said. You really want me to? She asked, a mischievous glint in her eye. I reached out and gently booped her nose. I know what you're up to, you little schemer. Don't worry, I'll cook. Back when we were together, we were too broke to even think about takeout. We tried to follow recipes at home. Chloe was hopeless. For her, cooking was a messy, imprecise art, while lab work was a meticulous science. The two just didn't compute. Her obsessive-compulsive tendencies meant she'd use a gram scale to measure salt and spices. The results were both inedible and took forever to make. I was different. I grew up in a small town, a latchkey kid who had to learn to be self-sufficient early. My parents worked long hours, so cooking fell to me. It didn't take much for me to pick it back up. And whenever I cooked, Chloe would watch, mesmerized. I'll never forget the look of pure admiration in her eyes as I'd flip vegetables in a sizzling pan. She tried to practice on her own a few times. After she'd ruined several meals and wasted ingredients we couldn't afford, I banned her from the stove. It was an economic necessity. Her cooking was a threat to our already fragile budget. As if passing a sacred torch, Chloe handed me the apron. A light bulb seemed to go off over her head. You cook, and I'll run down and buy a bottle of red wine, she said proudly. You're not afraid I'll get ideas after a few drinks? I grinned, showing all my teeth. Chloe squinted and shook her fist at me. On the top shelf, third from the left, there's a little vial. It's a concoction that can, let's say, permanently extinguish a man's fire. The technical term is chemical castration. Care to try it? My grin didn't waver. Don't forget, I helped you synthesize that compound. And I also know the exact reagent that neutralizes it. Need me to remind you? Fine, I won't buy any wine then. Don't worry, I said smoothly. I already ordered some. Ding dong, the doorbell rang. Chloe shot me a look and went to answer it. A delivery guy stood there, holding 2 exquisite bottles of red wine, panting for breath. After Chloe took the wine, he bolted downstairs, only to reappear moments later, his face completely obscured by a massive bouquet of 999 red roses. This is from a Mr. Ethan Carter, the delivery guy announced, for the most wonderful girl in the world. I walked over, took the bouquet, and gently closed the door. Then, channeling every romance movie I'd ever seen, I dropped to one knee. Chloe, I love you. Puffed. Chloe burst out laughing, covering her mouth. I was left kneeling there, feeling completely ridiculous. What? Is it? Not right. Not even close, she giggled. For starters, guys in movies usually wear a nice suit. Take off the apron. She helped me untie the apron, and I stood there, letting her fuss over me. But something still seemed off to her. She ran into the bedroom and came back with a brand new suit, the price tag still attached. Chloe pushed me into the bedroom to change. As I picked up the suit jacket, I felt something in the pocket. I pulled out. It was a letter. I gently unfolded it. The words inside stunned me. This suit, Chloe had bought it for me. For the awards ceremony, she knew we were going to win. And the letter, it was a confession. She wrote about how lucky she was to have met me, how thankful she was for that random science forum, and how she made a donation to a children's charity in honor of the day we first connected. She wrote that she was trying to learn how to cook, to make things that weren't so disgusting. And at the end, she asked if I would marry her. If I would, I was to meet her by the pond on campus and shout my love for her in front of everyone. That declaration, she wrote, was something she'd been waiting a long time for, and the public spectacle would be the interest she was charging for the wait. My vision blurred. I stood there, holding the letter, as tears dropped onto the paper. Chloe had known I would succeed. No, that we would succeed. So something must have happened. Something terrible. This suit never made it to me. She kept it hidden in her closet all this time. You foolish, wonderful girl, I thought. How did you really get that scar on your arm? What on earth happened to you back then? Are you changed yet? Her voice came from outside the door. I quickly wiped my eyes and shoved the letter back into the pocket. Almost. Don't rush me. Wait, don't change yet. I just remembered. I think that suit is wrinkled. Let me iron it. She must have remembered the letter. She opened the door, snatched the suit from my hands, and pushed me out of the bedroom. A few moments later, she emerged with it perfectly pressed. The pocket was empty. When I came out wearing the suit, Chloe was no longer the casual, playful girl from moments before. She was watching me, a soft, gentle smile on her lips. I looked directly into her eyes, and with all the sincerity I possessed, knelt again. Chloe Davis, I love you. Please, will you marry me? She just stood there, watching me, not moving. Her eyes began to well up. She bit her lip, fighting back tears, and looked up at the ceiling. Then, she gave a firm, resolute nod. Yes, she whispered, I'll marry you. And then, with a choked sob, she lunged forward and threw her arms around me, breaking down completely. It was as if years of pent-up grief and pain had finally burst forth. Her tears soaked my shirt. My own eyes burned, and I felt a lump form in my throat. Chloe, I whispered, my voice thick with emotion. I swear, for the rest of my life, I will never let anyone hurt you again. MMPH. I'm hungry. She mumbled into my chest, her stomach letting out a loud growl. I quickly put the apron back on and got to work in the kitchen. Chloe watched from the side, her face beaming with a pure, unadulterated happiness. When I expertly flipped the vegetables in the pan, she let out an audible whoa, her eyes wide as saucers. Your pan-flipping skills have gotten even better. I want to learn. It looks so cool. You shouldn't, I said. You'll get muscular arms. Oh, never mind then. I'll just stick to my culinary disasters. That way, if you're ever too busy to cook for me, I won't starve. I'm taking you with me wherever I go, I said, pulling her into a hug. She pushed me away gently, her expression suddenly serious. No, we can't be seen together. Why not? Because my status. It doesn't match yours. People will talk. Let them talk. They'll just be jealous that I landed such a beautiful, brilliant wife. Dinner was a huge success. Chloe ate like she hadn't had a good meal in years, practically inhaling the food and giving me a thumbs up between bites. I took pictures of her, capturing her goofy, happy expressions. She saw me and tried to snatch my phone, and we ended up wrestling playfully on the couch, the apartment filled with laughter. In the middle of our giggling fit, my mom called. Son, why didn't you tell us you were getting married? It all happened so fast, I forgot. But it's okay. I'll bring Chloe over for dinner tomorrow. I smiled at Chloe, who was now snuggled against my side. What? Chloe? My mom's tone shifted instantly. Yeah, Chloe, the girl I used to do research with. I showed you her picture. Remember? Absolutely not. I do not approve of this marriage. Why? There is no why. I just don't approve. You come home right now. Before I could ask anything else, she hung up. Chloe's bright mood evaporated. She looked down, shrinking away from me. You should go home. No, you have to listen to your mother. I told you this was a bad idea. We're not from the same world. I stepped forward and took her hand. What are you hiding from me, Chloe? Don't ask. We should just get a divorce when we have time. Tell me what you're hiding. I gripped her shoulders, shaking her slightly. Tears streamed down her face. We're married now. We're legally husband and wife. Can't you just tell me what's going on? Tell me. I've been to prison, she screamed. What? I said I've been to prison. Okay? I have a criminal record. I nearly killed someone. She shoved me away with all her might, her voice raw and full of anguish. I stared at her, unable to process her words. That's not a good enough reason, I said, my voice trembling. I don't care if you're a murderer. I still want you. Slap. Her palm cracked against my cheek. Wake up, she shrieked. You're a famous scientist. You have a brilliant future ahead of you. Why are you so fixated on me? She threw the door open. Get out. I stood there, stunned into silence, not moving. She shoved me out into the hallway. From the other side of the door, I could hear her sobbing, and the sound shattered my heart. My jaw clenched, my whole body trembling with a fury I couldn't contain. I tore out of the building and drove home as fast as I could. My mother knew something. I stormed into the house and confronted her in front of my father and grandparents, demanding to know why she was trying to ruin my life, why she was trying to tear us apart. Finally, worn down by my shouting, my mother confessed. Right before your big breakthrough, I was ready to accept her as my daughter-in-law. But then, she got into trouble. Horrible trouble. My mother's voice was sharp, laced with disgust. She used some kind of chemical, acid, to burn a very powerful, very rich man. His injuries were severe. Her family was ruined trying to pay the settlement. Her father hung himself. Her mother just packed up and disappeared. And she spent the last few years in a state penitentiary. You tell me, Ethan, how could I possibly let my son marry such a vicious, evil woman? The world tilted on its axis. My legs felt like they were about to give out. Her father, dead. Her mother, gone. Chloe, what else have you been hiding from me? How did you survive all that? How are you still standing? Why did she do it? I choked out. Why did she attack him? I don't know, and I don't care to know. My mother shot back. A person's true, venomous nature is revealed in a single act. What good would knowing the details do? What good? My voice boomed through the room. She was the kindest, most optimistic person I have ever known. I don't believe for a second that she would do something like that without a reason. Then go find out yourself, she yelled. Just stop screaming at me. And I'm telling you, Ethan, no matter what the reason, that woman will never set foot in this house. I nodded slowly, my resolve hardening. But she's the woman I'm going to marry. My position was clear. I ignored my family's protests and left. The first thing I did was call Leo and tell him to meet me at the local police department. What I found in the records was worse than anything I could have imagined. Just before our research was set to be published, an industry giant, a corrupt and powerful figure in the biotech world, had gotten wind of it. He was planning to steal our work, to patent it as his own. One summer night, 3 years ago, Chloe had tracked him down. She'd thrown a vial of concentrated sulfuric acid in his face. In the ensuing chaos, as she tried to escape, he had slashed her arm with a knife before she was caught. The man was hospitalized with severe burns, which meant he missed the window to file the patent. And so, I became a success. And Chloe went to prison for 3 years. The home she had lived in for over a decade was torn apart. Her life was shattered. It was all a plan. It had to be. As soon as she found out he was going to steal our work, she broke up with me and plotted her attack. That explained why her Instagram was all text and no pictures. She had sacrificed her entire future to protect the work we had bled for. Now I understood. Now I finally understood why she had cried so hard yesterday when I knelt before her in that suit. It was a moment she must have dreamed of 1,000 times. A future she thought had been stolen from her forever, suddenly returned. I sagged against the wall, my body trembling. I told Leo to get me to her apartment. Now, Leo floored it, the tires squealing. For the first time, I saw tears streaming down his face. Bro, he said, his voice cracking. Can you imagine how hopeless she must have felt? A girl her age. My God, she's so brave. I didn't say a word the entire drive. I burst out of the car and took the stairs 3 at a time. I pounded on her door, but there was no answer. Panic seized me. I called a 24-hour locksmith. But just as the locksmith was starting to work on the lock, the door opened. Chloe stood there, her eyes red and swollen. She must have cried herself to sleep. I lunged forward and pulled her in my arms, holding her so tight I thought she might break. Chloe, I love you, I whispered fiercely. I will never, ever leave you, not even if I die. The locksmith stared, dumbfounded. Leo wiped his own tears, then grabbed the man by the arm and dragged him away. Chloe was crushed against my chest. She struggled slightly, pushing me away. What are you doing here again? You broke my lock. I'll fix it. I'll spend my whole life fixing it. I pulled her back in. She tried to push me away again, annoyed. But then I told her everything I had found out. As I spoke, her defenses crumbled, and a fresh wave of tears streamed down her face. Why did you have to go digging, she sobbed. It was over. Why couldn't you just let it be? You idiot. We stood there in the doorway, holding each other and crying for what felt like an eternity. Finally, her voice hoarse, she whispered, I want to be with you so badly. But your mother will never agree. Then I won't go back home. I said, my heart set. This woman was mine. Period. I stayed with Chloe that night, and we were finally, truly, husband and wife. But I could still see the hesitation and fear in her eyes. She didn't believe it could last. I knew I had to have a real conversation with my family. The next morning, I made her a special breakfast. But just as I was setting the plates on the table, my phone rang. It was Leo. Bro, your mom's going to jump into the river. Your mom's going to jump into the river. I shot back reflexively. I'm serious, man. Down by the river on your old university campus. You got to get here now. It's a whole scene. My phone slipped from my grasp and clattered to the floor. Chloe's eyes were wide with panic. What are you waiting for? Go. You're coming with me. She doesn't want to see me. Just go. She started pushing me toward the door. I grabbed her hand and we ran downstairs, hailing the first cab we saw. Whether she rejected me verbally or threatened to end her life, it didn't matter. I had to make my mother understand today. It was Chloe or no one. The taxi got stuck in a traffic jam. I paid the driver, and Chloe and I started running. As we neared the riverbank, we could see a huge crowd gathered. Our hearts simultaneously dropped. We pushed our way through the throng of people, yelling for them to let us through. When we finally broke into the center of the crowd, we stopped dead. My mom and dad, my grandparents, my aunts and uncles, my entire family was there. The clearing was decorated with flowers and hundreds of colorful balloons. A beautiful wedding arch stood in the middle of the grass. A man with a microphone was waving at us from small stage. "Welcome, welcome. Our bride and groom have finally arrived." I was stunned, mute, completely frozen. Chloe stood beside me, clutching my hand, just as lost as I was. My mother walked toward us, her eyes glistening with tears. She stopped in front of Chloe and bowed her head, her voice thick with shame. "My dear girl," she choked out. "I was wrong. I didn't know. I didn't know what you sacrificed for Ethan. All the terrible things you went through. I'm so sorry." My mom pulled Chloe into her arms. At that moment, all of Chloe's years of pain and sorrow finally broke free in a torrent of tears. I was overcome with relief and joy. Leo sidled up to me, nudging me with his elbow. "So, bro, not a bad setup, huh?" "Not bad at all," I breathed. I watched as my family surrounded Chloe, gently guiding her into a makeshift dressing tent. When she emerged, she was wearing a stunning white wedding dress. She was so beautiful. Her heart, even more so. This was the scene I had dreamed of for so long. Was it really happening? "Mr. Groom, what are you waiting for? Go get changed," the host called out. I tore my adoring gaze away from her. "I want to put on my suit." And then, in front of our professors, our classmates, our friends, and our family, I walked toward her, holding a massive bouquet of flowers. I dropped to one knee, just as I had in my dreams. And with every ounce of strength in my body, I yelled, "Chloe Davis, I love you." The crowd erupted in thunderous applause. The scene she had described in her letter, the one she had dreamed of, I had finally made it real. We embraced, and she looked up at me, her eyes red but shining. "You saw the letter?" she whispered. "I saw it," I said. "But I didn't plan this. I hadn't gotten this far yet." "It was your mother's idea," my mom said, beaming. "You were always telling me how you and Chloe loved to walk by the river. We figured, why not do it here, where everyone can see? Are you happy with it, dear? If not, we can plan another one." Chloe laughed through her happy tears. "It's perfect, Mom," she said, looking at my mother with pure gratitude. "You chose the perfect spot.